cool afternoon breeze washes through the leaves of the rows and rows of trees as shiny red fruits dangle from the branches. The two girls take their time strolling up the mile-long row of trees, swaying their baskets back and forth as they walk in the fading sunlight. "Tiana, over here," Faye calls, her wavy, light brown hair blowing in the gentle wind. Tiana quickly rushes over to her friend's side, both of them picking the few ruby-red apples from the tree. Looking up at the orange and pink sky, Faye frowns as she glances down the row of trees. "It's gotten dark so much quicker than I thought," Faye says, glancing over at Tiana as she searches for more apples. "Come on, we should head back now." "Oh, all right," she replies, grumpily. "What?" "It's not my fault you're afraid of the dark," Tiana answers, smirking as Faye rolls her eyes. "Who knows what comes out at night? It's unpredictable, and I don't like it," Faye explains, folding her arms over her chest. "Well, come on then. We won't make it back before dark if we don't get a move on now." Faye rolls her eyes again, before following Tiana back down the row of trees they had just recently walked up. Turning back, she reaches out for Faye's hand, a kind, gentle smile spreading across her face as she grins and takes it in her own. Their hands swaying back and forth in big arcs as they slowly make their way through the trees. "Wait for a second," Tiana interrupts, pausing as she squints her eyes. The lights at the shed have turned off. Faye stands on her tiptoes to peek over the top of the leaves, the distance dark as the sun begins to disappear from the sky. "We should have left earlier," Faye answers shakily, gripping Tiana's hand tightly. "Ow!" she yelps, quickly pulling her hand away. "You're going to squeeze the life out of my hand." "Sorry, I'm just nervous." They take a deep breath before continuing the hike back to the shed, the distance dark and gloomy as Faye peers over her shoulder. Swinging her basket back and forth, she hears a quiet thud from behind her. "Wait, Tiana, I dropped an apple," Faye says, bending down and picking it up from the ground. "All right, let's go." Faye nervously scans the trees, gulping as the sunlight disappears over the roof of the shed. "Tiana, this isn't funny," she shouts, spinning around as she squints her eyes to try spot any movement. "Tiana, come out. You know I hate it when it's dark." Faye's breathing soon becomes heavier and faster as she quickly walks in the direction of the shed. The once cool and gentle breeze soon turns into more of a strong current, like you're stuck in a river and can't stop yourself from traveling further down the stream. Glancing behind, her foot catches on a small stone, sending her plummeting to the ground, dirt covering her pale-colored shirt and skirt. Carefully rising from the ground, she attempts to dust the dirt from her clothes, the apples catching her eye as they roll from the basket. Her heavy breathing echoes in her ears as the leaves rustle in the frosty gusts of wind. The wind's chill leaves a dry taste in her throat as she takes deep breaths, her long hair sticking to her lips when it blows across her face. Dark clouds rumble over the once clear, starry sky, the field being swallowed up by the fierce darkness. Backing into the trees, her skin brushes against the rough leaves, branches poking through her clothes. Glancing up the row and back down it, she slowly walks away from the tree, her hands at her chest as shivers run up her spine. "Tiana?" she asks, her voice shaking as she speaks. "Tiana, please come back. I don't want to leave you here." Silence. "Tiana, please," Faye shouts, a salty tear running down her pale cheek and onto her dry lips. Gulping, she steps over her basket with a shaky leg, slowly heading towards the shed. Jumping out of her skin, Faye falls to the ground as she hears a deafening scream in amongst the trees. Her hands tremble on her chest as she huddles against the thin trunk of a tree. Bursting into tears, she pulls her knees to her chest, her tears instantly drying on her cheeks as the frozen wind splashes against her. She's not coming back. Quickly pulling herself together, Faye awkwardly stands up from the ground, but almost falls back down again as she hears faint footsteps in the distance, their dark clothing only just outlining their body. Faye's heart skips a beat as she begins to sprint towards the shed. Running faster than ever before, she struggles to keep fatigue from overcoming her. Her chest tightens as her legs begin to fail her, the cold air freezing her feet and making her slow down. Faye glances up, the shed now closer, the entrance in sight. Peeking behind her, Faye lets out an ear-piercing scream as she stumbles backwards. A dark figure standing before her. "Please," she cries as she takes a step back, her foot crashing into a small tin bucket. The figure takes slow steps towards her, the strong winds blocking out anything they could have said. In a rash decision, Faye hurriedly bends down and grabs onto the tin bucket's handle, violently swinging the bucket across the person's head. The figure kneels to the ground as they hold the side of their face, Faye's jaw dropping as she watches them. Turning back around, she makes a quick escape by sprinting towards the shed, dirt flicking up from her heels as she flees. The tall shed soon towers over her, the door finally in arm's length. Reaching out for the door handle, she twists it, but the door wouldn't open. Faye tugs on the door handle, a lock rattling against the tin door. "No, no, no," she murmurs, glancing behind her for any unwanted guests. Faye squints as she looks around the door. Nothing to be seen. Shaking, Faye scrambles around to the other side of the shed, the main entrance now in front of her. Faye reaches out for the handle and twists it, the door not opening a crack. Yanking the handle towards her, she stumbles back, the door flinging open and slamming against the wall of the shed. She stares at the open door in amazement and shock before switching back and rushing inside. Locking the door from the inside, she rushes over to the side of the room and heaves the heavy cupboards and tables in front of the front and back doors. Faye stands in the middle of the room with her arms crossed, barely able to see the wall in front of her. Squinting her eyes, she looks closely at the desk, relief overcoming her as she spots a phone beside the computer. She quickly picks it up and dials emergency services, impatiently waiting for someone to answer. Faye sighs as she hears a friendly voice on the other side of the line. Taking the phone from the desk, she sits underneath it with her knees pulled to her chest. "I'm at the apple tree farm. Someone took my best friend and H chased me back to the shed." Faye stutters, a tear running down her pale cheeks as she shivers. Bang! Faye jumps in shock, almost dropping the phone as she turns around to face the back of the shed. They're here. They found me. Please hurry and send someone," she whispers, her voice cracking as she carefully listens to the woman reassure her. Putting the phone down beside her, Faye buries her head on her knees, hugging them tightly as she attempts not to burst out in tears. "They can't get in. They can't get in. They can't get in," she quietly repeats, her surroundings going dead silent. Gulping, Faye glimpses around the corner of the desk, both doors still blocked as a slight shimmer of moonlight peeks in underneath the furniture. She stares at the light under the door, no one standing in front of it to block out the glow. Faye switches between both doors as a faint noise echoes in the distance, someone suddenly moving in front of the door and away again. Her breathing becomes heavy as she watches the door without blinking. "Who's there?" Someone shouts from outside, Faye flinching as she hears them outside. More and more shadows block the moonlight from under the door, as more and more voices shout from outside the shed. Creeping out from underneath the desk, Faye wearily rises from the cold, concrete floor, trembling. "Hey, kid, are you in there?" a man shouts from outside the shed. "It's all right, just the police." Carefully walking towards the entrance, she drags the table away and unlocks it, the officer quickly opening the door before she could. The bright car lights shine into her eyes, the area now lit up with bright lights. Faye slowly walks out of the shed and to the corner of the building, staring out into a huge field of apple trees. This is why I hate the dark. Story 2. Title: Orchard of Delusion. Tony and Jen were on their first fall outing as a couple. They had been seeing each other for 3 months, and Jen was the one that suggested apple picking in the local orchard. Tony was more of the city guy that liked concrete under his feet and not dirt and mud. Jen was finally able to convince him when she promised to bake an apple pie with the ones they picked. They agreed that this Saturday would be their adventure out. Wear something comfortable, Jen said. She knew if she did not tell Tony that, he would arrive in one of his urban slacks and sandals, and she would have to listen to him complain all day. You mean like pajamas? He said sarcastically. He knew what she was talking about. He had planned on heading to the clothing store when he left to find some jeans and a nice polo shirt. Saturday finally arrived, and Tony showed up at Jen's apartment at 9 a.m. as planned. And, just as he planned, Jen was not ready. She answered the door wearing nothing but a smile and a towel. I can't believe you're on time, she said. Give me just a few more minutes. Tony had always been punctual. Jen was the one that seemed to think you add 30 minutes to a time for the actual time you need to be ready. Tony noticed a wicker basket on Jen's dinette table. New basket for the adventure, I see. Yeah, she yelled from the bedroom. Don't you love it? I was able to get a basket for each of us, with a nice fall checkered pattern towel to put inside. We're going to look so cute together. Tony's eyes rolled back. We're going to look so gay, he said softly. What was that? Jen asked as she came out of the bedroom. Nothing, he said. I just said it looks like it's going to be a nice day. I know, right? Jen grabbed the other wicker basket and put the two together. Look, we are going to be styling. We're going to be something, all right, Tony said. He looked at Jen. 2 baskets. That's a lot of apples. Why don't we just take your basket and leave mine here? Jen knew what he was trying to do. She could tell from the tone in his voice he would not feel comfortable carrying something so girly. You don't like it, do you? It's not that, Tony said, as he tried to avoid starting an argument. The wicker just clashes with my shirt. You know, it just doesn't match. Whatever, Jen said with an attitude. Let's just go. The two of them got in his BMW and headed to the countryside to a small local orchard. Jen had called them earlier in the week and put their names on the guest list to pick some apples. The orchard only allowed a small number of visitors each season to avoid overcrowding. The drive took about 30 minutes, but to Tony, it seemed to take forever. Jen gave him the silent treatment all the way to the orchard, and what made it worse, he did not care. He felt it was a nice break from her normal bubbly attitude, which included a mouth that would not stop talking. When they pulled into the parking lot, the silence was broken when Jen decided to speak. Are you going to talk to me, or just keep giving me the silent treatment all day? Me? Tony could not believe what he heard. You're the one not talking. You're mad because I didn't want to carry that basket all day. Jen still made no attempt at eye contact. I was just trying to make the day more enjoyable. I thought you would like it. I'm sorry I even tried. Jen, Tony said as he looked at her. Can we please not fight? I do appreciate everything you do. I think it's cute how you love to plan these types of things. She stared at Tony. She could feel there was more he wanted to say. But, he continued, but I don't like looking. He paused, trying to find the right words without sounding like a homophobe. Looking like what? Jen said. Gay? Well, Yeah, Tony knew she would catch on. You think carrying a basket to put apples you pick off the tree in an orchard is gay? Jen could not believe what she heard him say. And you don't think driving a red BMW convertible with your brand new Gap jeans and a white polo shirt with the sweater around your neck DOAScend make you look gay? Tony started to look at himself in the mirror and checked his car out. Suddenly, he felt insecure about how he presented himself. You're something else, Tony, she said. Come on, let's go. Jen got out of the car and started to walk towards the entrance. Tony followed. The entire time he watched to see if anyone looked at him strangely. Tony and Jen found a few trees in the orchard they liked, and they started to pick these big, red, delicious apples. Tony could not believe the size of them. These are huge, he said. Yeah, they are, Jen responded. I'm only going to need a few of these to make that apple pie for you. As they were picking, Jen was startled by an older man that suddenly appeared behind her. He stood 7 inches taller than her and wore blue overalls and an old, worn-out baseball cap. His face was full of wrinkles and looked to be haggard. What are you doing? The man asked in an old, raspy voice. That's my tree. Oh, I'm sorry, Jen said. I wasn't aware that people were assigned trees. Assigned trees? The man was confused by what she said. What do you mean, assigned trees? All of these trees are in my orchard. The man grabbed Jen's basket from her and dumped all the apples on the ground. Now get out to here before I call the cops. Why? Jen yelled. She could not believe how rude the man was. Tony came running from the other side of the tree. What's going on? Jen looked at Tony. This man says this is his tree and his orchard, and then he dumped all my apples on the ground. Tony looked around. What man? Jen turned to point to the man that was there, but he was gone. Where did he go? Jen searched the area. There was a man here, and he started yelling at me. Tony had a puzzled look on his face. I didn't see anyone, but I swear, he was right here. Jen was confused, how the man could just disappear. Okay, Tony said. He's not there now. Hey, I'm going to go over to this tree on the next row. They have some nice-looking apples there. Jen was still confused. Okay. She gazed around one more time and saw no sign of the man. She bent down and started to pick up the apples that had fallen on the ground. After collecting the last apple, she stood up. HEYTHOUJHTOLDYOUTHISWASM. The old man had returned and was yelling at Jen again. She jumped and was scared. The man grabbed her basket and tossed it down the aisle of the orchard, scattering her apples all over. Jen was frightened and was screaming as she ran to find Tony. Tony! Tony! Tony came running from the other row of trees. What? What is it? It's that man again. Jen pointed towards the tree she was at. The man was gone. She walked with Tony to where she and the man were standing. He grabbed my basket of apples and threw it. Tony saw her basket about 20 feet away and retrieved it for her, but he did not see the man anywhere. I don't see anyone, Jen. Jen was totally confused now. Not to mention, scared. The man frightened her when he was yelling and throwing her basket. That's strange, she said. Can you stay with me? Of course, Tony said. He turned towards the tree and picked more apples. Jen started gathering the apples that had scattered on the ground. She suddenly stood up as she heard the man yelling again. THOSEAREEPPLAS. he said. Jen turned and saw the old man running towards her, waving a shovel in the air. GETOUTOFMYORCHARD. Jen started to scream and run. She dropped her basket on the ground and did not bother to stop to pick it up. She continued to run and then tripped over a branch that was on the ground. She felt the man as he got on top of her and kept yelling. Jen screamed. She thought he was going to hit her with the shovel. N-O-O-O-O, she shouted. N-O-O-O-O-O. H-E-L-P-M-E. N-O-O-O-O-O. Jen heard Tony's voice. Hey, Jen. Jen. It's okay. It's okay. Jen opened her eyes and looked up and saw Tony straddling over her. The old man was gone and nowhere to be seen. In his place was Tony. You tripped, Tony said. Are you okay? Jen sat up, frightened. She looked around. It was that man again. He was chasing me. There's no one here, Tony said. Look, it's just us. He looked around to see if he could spot someone, but they were alone. I swear, I saw that man again. Jen stood to her feet. Can we just go? Sure, Tony replied. But what about my apple pie? I'll buy you a damn pie, she said. Let's just get out of here. The two of them walked back to the car. Jen was quiet as she got in the passenger seat. Tony placed the basket in the trunk of his BMW and sat down in the driver's side. Are you okay? He asked. Yeah, Jen said. I'll be fine. She was looking out the window, staring at nothing, happy they were leaving. Tony started the car and backed out of the parking spot. He started to drive away. Jen looked out the window and screamed as she saw the old man with the shovel running towards the car. T-H-E-R-E-H-E-I-S. G-U-O. G-O. D-R-I-V-E. Tony looked in the direction Jen was looking and saw no one. There's no one there, Jen. J-U-S-T-D-R-I-V-E, she yelled, still frightened by the old man she saw and no one else did. They returned home without further incident. Jen would never ask to go pick apples again.